Welcome to Discovering. September 21st was the first day of the youth duck hunting season weekend. I got out with some friends for a morning hunt. And we'll add in some goose hunting.
And I'm taking you for a walk across Marty's Mini Mac.
Then a look at the Monarchs of Peninsula Point. Put the remote down and your feet up. It's Monday night and time for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
This is the beginning. This is the 2019 Youth Waterfowl Hunting Weekend. So we got a couple of youth out, my son and Andy Pritchard and his son Dominic. We're going to go out and see if we can shoot a few wood ducks, maybe some mallards, and the geese have been using this field too. So we'll see what kind of action we can get today.
It's the third week of September. The sun had not yet lit the sky. The temperature, already 70 degrees. It doesn't feel like fall, but the overwhelming urge to hunt reassures me that it is indeed fall. And today, it's ducks and geese.
I've always liked goose hunting. I've been going since I was 7, I think.
Yeah, this is the Youth Duck Hunting Weekend. So all over Michigan, this weekend is open for anyone under 17 or 16 years or younger to go out and waterfowl hunt.
I started goose hunting when I was just a little kid, but I started shooting a couple years ago.
They have to be accompanied by an adult, obviously, that's licensed. And they can harvest ducks and geese during this season. And there's a lot of people that go out and take advantage of this, whether they be hunting in fields or hunting on the water, hunting in the Great Lakes. It's a neat opportunity, and the whole idea is to try and give an opportunity for youth to get out before the birds are really pressured and have a chance at bagging some birds and be successful. And a lot of people take advantage of it. It's a fun time. It's a good time. You can see, and especially this early, like this year, a lot of birds haven't migrated yet. So there's a lot of wood ducks around. There's even some teal still around. They have not pushed out of the area because we've not had a frost yet. You have opportunity you would not have when a regular duck season starts sometimes. What these birds do is they roost on a marsh or a lake or a water body or river or something like that, like a place like that around here. And then first light, they fly off and they go feed in these grain fields. This time of the year, they're targeting the small grain fields, particularly the oat and the wheat and the barley, those kind of fields. And they're also feeding on the greens that are coming up in the fields, the new seed alfalfa that's coming in. Later in the year, when the cornfields come off, they'll be feeding on those high-energy corn kernels that are left behind from the harvest process. So they're feeding on those, and they'll feed for a couple hours, then they'll go back and loaf. Oftentimes not even on the same spot where they roost at night. Then they'll come back and feed again late in the afternoon, and then they'll go back at dark, and usually they'll return to the water body where they're going to roost at night. So, it's important to do your, it's just like deer hunting, you have to do your scouting. So in the morning or in the afternoon, you go out and you look for birds and figure out where they're at, and that's the spot you want to be. So you have to, talk to landowners, get permission to be on those properties, or do your scouting on the water to make sure you're going to be in the right spot, because they're there for a reason. They're feeding there, or they're loafing there, or there's something that's attracting them to that spot. And that's the place you want to try and find, and you want to be able to take to your advantage. one of the things our kids have learned, the people that hunt with us, is that if you shoot at every flock that comes in, every bird that comes in, and if you don't get them, you can burn out a field real quickly, so you won't be able to hunt it again. So the trick is to shoot some birds, be successful, and then get out and let them rest in the field, come back into it again. Let it sit for a couple days or a week or something, and then you can come back and try it again.
I caught up with the same crew along with Rick Faust and his dog Red on the following morning for a goose hunt. It was a warm, hazy UP September morning.
Ready?
It's tough when you got short stubble and you're trying to hide out in a field and you got a blind this size. So we're sitting on the edge of the field and it doesn't always work out like you think, and they came in a little long, and sometimes it happens. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. The main thing this weekend is got the boys out hunting, and they got a few ducks yesterday, a few geese today, so that's what it's all about, friends and family.
You can train quite a bit for this stuff, but until you do it, the training kind of goes out the door with real geese and things like that, and you got to pick up geese and they're flopping all over and running off, and that's why I was running. That was part of the plan, I guess. And then, you know, you're shooting at more birds, and then she's looking at, oh, maybe I'll drop this one and go get those, and it gets to be a cluster, but we worked it out, and she got a nice long retrieval over there, which was pretty fun to have, and she at least didn't pull the blind out to the field. Pretty good.
The important part about doing this stuff, we've been hunting for like this for 20 some years as a group, and now we have kids. We're bringing our sons and our daughters out. And it's about teaching them, one, the sport and how to hunt effectively, and all the fun of all the camaraderie and fun associated with it, but also, you know, how to interact with the landowners and be respectful of landowners, and you know, how to ask permission. We make the kids go ask permission, and they have to learn how to do that, and then, you know, how to say thank you, and that's part of the whole experience, and it's kind of cool to see them as the next generation start to pick up that torch and run with it and be effective, and they can actually hit birds, and they're bringing them down on their own, and it's fun. It's an enjoyable time. It gets, especially when the birds really fly well and there's lots of opportunity. We get a few hunts like that every year, and the kids enjoy it, and we bring a lot of other people out with kids and people that don't get a chance to hunt much, and that's fun to get them out and have them mentor a little bit into this too as well. So it's always enjoyable to do that.
Then when I got my first duck, I was super excited. And then when I got my first goose, I just kept going.
First year I didn't hunt, but I went along and watched them hunt. And then the first year I actually was hunting them. First hunt, got a goose, the only one we got that day. And then later that day I got my first ever deer.
Go deer hunting a lot every weekend during deer season, and then during duck and goose season I go every weekend too.
It's one of my favorite things to do. I just like spending time with my dad and being outdoors.
One of Michigan's biggest landmarks is the Mackinac Bridge, connecting Michigan's upper and lower peninsulas. The bridge opened to traffic on November 1st, 1957, just in time for deer season that year. Now it was easier for folks in the LP to come hunting in the wilderness of the UP. 12 of those hunters came from Davison, Michigan, that first year and formed the Dirty Dozen Camp, just north of Bruce Crossing along Highway 45.
The camp was started in 1957. And so the first year the guys came to camp, they got to cross the Mackinac Bridge. So that was very interesting. They opened up just in time for deer season. And most of them have all passed. In fact, they all have. But we're still keeping it going here.
Generations later, they're keeping up the tradition, now with one mini landmark as a tribute to that first year of deer camp. Marty's Mini Mac, which connects the camp to Marty's deer blind. I met up with Marty for a walk across his bridge, although he admits most of the time he drives his ATV across it.
You don't have to worry about falling off. You're pretty much stuck right in here. Rub the edges a little bit now and again. Well, my name is Marty Madden. I come from Davison, Michigan, 500 miles south of here. It's quite a trip getting up here, but I was in business down there, and I've retired now, and since I retired, I got a little busy and a little carried away up here in your country, and I really enjoy it up here, so I spend about 85% of my time up here now. A buddy of mine and I were sitting on the back porch, and I was telling him all about me having to walk like a half mile down here and around to get to my deer blind. And I said, you know, I've built a couple bridges out of logs. I said, it just in the spring just kind of blows it away. Oh, here comes the water, you know. So he says, you know, he goes, they're gonna auction off the grates off the Mackinac Bridge. And I says, well, really? And he goes, yeah, they weigh 5,000–6,000 pounds a piece. So I said, well, heck, I can just throw one across the river. It'll stay there, and I don't have to go about 100 yards to my blind. Perfect. I'll get one of those. So I got online, my wife did, of course, and she bought one at the auction there for $360, the first one.
Even after buying a 40-foot steel grate, Marty had no plans on creating a replica of the Mackinac, complete with the same paint color. It was the newest member of the Dirty Dozen who sparked the idea.
Once I bought the first one, then the wheels started turning. My buddy Shorty happened to be on the Mackinac Bridge Authority. So when he became a member here a few years back, we just got to talking a little bit, and it just, once I sunk my teeth into it, it was nuts. I just kept on going, and there you go. That's just getting carried away, for sure.
Marty purchased 3 more grates for a total of 160 feet. The 2 towers are 30 feet tall and were constructed off-site.
Well, the towers, me and another fabricator downstate, and I had to haul them up here. And we also had to put 20 extra feet on a trailer of mine to pick up the grates, because being 40 foot long. It's been fun and challenging, you know. Up here on 45, we don't have any electricity right in this part of 45 north of Bruce's Crossing. So generators and stuff, powering the welders. I was a self-taught welder, so I done a little bit of welding. But putting in the pylons and stuff like this was all brand new to me. Right now I got just short of 3 years in, so. But actually the bridge was done last year, and then I've been waiting on the dam to get done. The dam is what really gonna make it even more complete. You know, that little creek wasn't quite enough. And I've had some great people to work with, like putting in the dam afterwards to dam up the creek. James Caron over there at the DEQ was really good to work with, because he made me do it right. You know, even though it's a lot more work, I know it's done right now. And the deer have been coming down to the beach. We'll beach them for the grandkids.
There were 4,851,700 steel rivets used to build the Mackinac Bridge. I'm not sure if that's counting the 4 on Marty's plaque or not.
These were given to me by Bob Sweeney, these rivets and these spud wrenches. They were found about 2 or 3 years ago by divers underneath the bridge, and they were used in the construction of the bridge. And it really turned out very, very nice, I think. It's worth the stop to just cruise in here, and I don't care when they come in. I love it. Somebody to talk to, you know. I'm up here a lot by myself, so when somebody comes in, I'm going, all right, cool, somebody to talk to, you know.
If you want to visit Marty and his mini Mac, the first thing you will see as you approach the camp is a large flagpole in the front yard.
And I put that in the front yard, so it's really easy to find with the flagpole in the front yard. And that was a light pole, so off the bridge. So I think it's worth your time to just stop and take a look. It's kind of cool.
And it's free to take a walk. There's no toll to cross this mighty mini Mac.
They come from all over the UP and gather on Peninsula Point at the end of the Stonington Peninsula, waiting for just the right wind to help carry them over the lake on the first leg of their journey to Mexico.
Well, the Monarchs are here because this is a migration route, an ancient migration route where Stonington is a dropping off point. They come here throughout the summer. Usually the migration, we start our counts in mid-August. When we tag a butterfly, it's a little small, sticky thing with a number on it that we put on the butterflies. So as we tag them, we also record if it's a male or female. And the way to tell them is on their bottom wings. If on the inside of it, there's a black spot on either side. If there's a black spot on the side, that's a male butterfly. And if there's no spot, then it's a female butterfly. Sometimes I'll tag 10, 15 males in a row. And then other days I'll come down here and it's all females that I'm tagging. So in the end, it kind of evens out, but there's sometimes down here it seems like they're all males and sometimes they're all females. Usually by the third week of September, this time of year, they're done. This year, because of the warm weather, and it actually was a very good year for monarchs. When they did the larvae, the caterpillar surveys, they found out that there was a lot of monarchs this year. So the warm weather probably, just as a guess, is why they're late going out. And so they come here to fly to Door County on their trip way down to Mexico, and they use this as a stopping point to rest. You get a lot of them here when you get a south wind, because they can't fly against the wind. They always fly with the wind to their back. So when it's a south wind or when it's a rainy period like you've had the past couple of weeks, they just gather here. Yesterday there was probably 3,000, probably maybe even more. The trees were just coated with them, but that followed a week period of a lot of rain, a lot of south wind, and yesterday just happened to be one of the days when the sun came out, so they were just flying about everywhere. So they're not quite as many here today. So yesterday was the northwest wind, so a lot of them probably did move out yesterday, but there's still quite a few around here today. They migrate down to Mexico where they overwinter. So the ones that are here to migrate don't actually make it back up. They go down to Mexico, they spend the winter there, and then when spring comes, they drop out of the trees and work their way back up. But by that time, they're fairly old butterflies, so it's their offspring that come back up. So up in this part of the world, it's probably their second to third generation that make it back up here, up to the Upper Peninsula. So toward the end of the summer, toward August, is when they turn around and they start gathering back up. So they'll follow Lake Michigan. Stonington just happens to be not only a natural spot for the butterflies, but birds too come here to migrate out, and they wait for the wind. A couple days ago when I was out here doing tagging, there was probably about 40 blue jays waiting to fly out, but the wind was blowing against them. There was also about 20 hawks running around, and they were catching dragonflies, the big dragonflies that were here. And the dragonflies do migrate out a little bit also. So this is just an annual spot. Normally, like I said, by this time of the year, they're gone. But this year is a late year, and this is probably one of the biggest gatherings I've heard of in quite a long time with this many butterflies.
Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next week right here on Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.